Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, Dr. Anderson. How are you?
Very good, very good. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Glad to see everyone again. I hope everyone had a good day of rest yesterday. I sure needed a little bit of rest myself. And we're back now for the last day of this incredible week, right? We spent the whole week together. And if you're still here, well, you're really among the bravest of the bravest. So congratulations. We've done more than 8 hours. And we were more than
Right.
30,000 overall. So thank you everyone for showing up. You can really be proud of yourself. And I want to say also a big thank you to everyone who's joined Mentor Show since Tuesday. Thanks everyone for your support. And actually, I think everyone here should thank them because it's really thanks to them that we're able to organize these kind of free events for everybody. So thank you for supporting Mentor Show. And obviously, you can also thank yourselves. Probably the best gift you can give yourself to care of yourself and invest in yourself. And actually, so if some people are still hesitating to join us, you can send your questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. And you can also send your question to Dr. Anderson, and we'll cover this at the end of the webinar. We'll do our best to answer as many as we can. But first, Dr. Anderson, can you tell us, before we dive into the science and the therapy, could you share a little bit about your own journey and what shaped the work you do today?
Yeah, well, that's a long answer potentially
I can
because
imagine, yeah.
doing this work for, oh my gosh, probably a lifetime, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm saying this in jest, but my whole journey started when I was 6 years old and I was sent to therapy, right? At the time, because I got caught playing with a Barbie doll playhouse and people thought I was bad and wrong, right? But fast forward, I had this desire to help people, and I did not know that it was rooted in my own trauma, to tell you the truth, right? Like we are seeking out to help people when in fact, oftentimes it has to do with our unresolved trauma. And I was fortunate and lucky enough to be in my residency training program with Bessel Kolk back in 1992, right? So I was been working with Bessel since 1992, and I was a psychiatrist for his trauma center for many, many years. And probably not through my own therapy journey did I understand the link between my desire to help people heal trauma and my own trauma history, which I've wrote about in a memoir that I had out called To Be Loved. But I've been in this field for a really long time. I've trained in a lot of modalities of therapy, EMDR, sensory motor psychotherapy, internal family systems. And at this phase of my career, neuroscience, also always integrating neuroscience knowledge. At this point in my career, I'm really putting all the work together in a way that I've never really. I think there are incredible models that have been created over the years, and I'm so grateful to all the model makers. And I feel like the next wave of trauma treatment is integration. So my passion is two things. One, integrating models of psychotherapy in a cohesive, easy to use way for all clinicians. Second, bringing trauma healing outside of psychotherapy, because I don't think there's enough therapists in the world to heal all the trauma that is in the world. So, my next
Mhm.
book, which I'm working on right now, is how to bring trauma healing to the general public outside of psychotherapy so we can reach as many people as possible.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, great. Well, thank you for that great introduction.
Yeah, sure.
And obviously, this really falls at the right time because the whole journey of these and the goal was to go from to embodiment with Bessel, then
Yes.
experiencing, and now today is the final step towards integration. So this is this is the goal of this session. And maybe, well, we can already started, get straight into it. And for someone new to what we call parts work, what does it
Yeah.
mean to have parts, and how does parts work really differ from traditional trauma therapy?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question because so many of the models that have come, you know, whether it's EMDR, working on memory processing, any of the somatic models, which work on body, somatic experiencing, and what's held in the body, as well as many attachment models, which work on the relationship, or emotion focused therapies, which work on emotions, right? When we look at all the different models that are out there, they're all working on one component or not of the whole picture: thoughts, feelings, or physical sensations, right? Or attachment and connection. The thing that parts work adds, and my new program that I'm working on is called the PATH, Parts Approach to Trauma Healing. I notice your course is a path to inner safety. It's very similar. But if we think about parts approach, the different aspects of our personality, the different states within us, the different places that hold different things based on our life experience. When we're feeling what I call calm power, we're centered, we're strong, we're in our power, we make decisions from a very different place than when we're in fear and overwhelmed, whether it's hyper aroused or shut down and disconnected with withdrawal. We make decisions from different places within ourselves and within our nervous system. So those are different parts or different aspects of our personality. So I think it's really important to add the parts approach to the treatment of trauma, because it's not all of us in any one moment. There are different aspects of our personality that will show up in different times for different reasons. I often reference the movie Inside Out. I did a
Mhm.
project with them many years ago. And one of the things that was really important when I was working with the producers and the director over at Pixar was they said to me, Frank, if we're going to do a project together, you have to understand that all emotions have a positive intention. And I was like, well, that's not hard for me. Like that is very aligned with my philosophy, because, and this is aligned with the work of IFS, also internal family systems, this idea that cutting and suicide and binging, overworking, yelling at your children are all these symptoms and behaviors that people have a hard time with and hate and work hard to get rid of. But we have to shift our relationship to these parts or aspects of our personality. What is your intention, is what I always ask. What is the intention of the drinking? What is the intention of the cutting? What is the intention of suicide? When you look at the intention, Leo, it's a whole different story. I'm here to keep the pain away. I'm here to keep us safe. I'm here to help us feel loved and not hated. Then you start appreciating what I call survival strategies. These are all survival strategies, not
Mhm.
symptoms that the medical health community wants to get rid of. Gabor and Bessel are friends and colleagues of mine and are very aligned with this approach, very aligned with the positive intention. The mental health field focuses on the effect these parts
Mhm.
have, not on the intention. So that's a big piece of why parts work is important, is you kind of look at these behaviors and symptoms from a very different vantage point. The other piece I want to say is, when we experience something traumatic or overwhelming, our body, our energy, parts of us stores the trauma energy, right? As you've been hearing throughout the course of this time together.
Mhm.
And it's important for us to work with the parts that carry the trauma also, which are different than the parts that are trying to help us survive. So you have to access the wounded places within us and help release the trauma energy that these places, these parts of us, are forced to take on, are forced to
Mhm.
store. So
Mhm.
I let people kind of, it's not who I am, it's what I had to do to survive, and it's what I have to carry until I'm able to release it and let it go. So a parts approach is very
Right.
important from several different perspectives. It's non-pathologizing, and it helps people kind of see themselves and their behaviors differently in a way that's very helpful,
Mhm.
and less critical and less shaming.
Mhm. What would be common examples of parts for someone who has experienced trauma? W-
Yeah.
How can they see what are their parts and common parts that they might have and recognize themselves into?
Yeah, so I'm going to use some of the common
Mhm.
language out in social media, right? Everybody talks about people pleasing, right? People pleasing is really popular. Everybody talks about fawning. Fawning is very popular, right? There's all these words out there. Um, these are common survival strategies or adaptations, right? I just did a TV show yesterday on the origins of people pleasing, right? Why do we spend so much time focusing on the other person? They'll like me, they'll love me, they'll think I'm funny, is often rooted in attachment trauma, right? If I please you, then you will like me and you won't leave me, for example, right? So, all the therapists out there in the world, caretakers, 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 you don't become a therapist because it's fun and interesting. You become a
Mhm.
therapist because you have a caretaking part that wants to give somebody else what you didn't have or needed or wanted in your life. Now, I don't want to talk negatively about any therapist, Leo. I'll just talk about myself here. I'll talk about myself. And the reason that I went into the field, I was a caretaker. I
Right.
took care of my mother and my brother and my sisters, and that behavior, very well liked in the world, was all an adaptation. If I can caretake others, I can give them what I needed and wanted, and I can feel better about myself. But you can really look at any symptom, any behavior, right? Cutting. Cutting is an adaptive strategy. Most people in mental health stop the cutting, stop the cutting. Or drinking, stop the drinking, stop the drinking. That's not, for me, the right approach. What is cutting
Mhm.
helping with? Often, when you listen to the part that cuts, it moves you from emotional pain to physical pain. Cutting is a distraction. Cutting is often,
So
yeah,
what do you call cutting? I'm not, it may be naive, but I'm not
self
sure what you're referencing.
self-injurious behavior. People that cut themselves,
Ah, okay, I
right?
got it.
People that cut themselves.
Aha, right. Okay, right.
Self-injurious behavior. People, that's horrible. Stop that. Say no. How is it helping? When you shift to how is it helping? Oh, it's moving me from emotional pain to physical pain, something that I could do something about, something that people will see, something that I can get cared for. Nobody cared about my emotional pain, but they care about my physical pain, right? One such example. Any substance use, eating, drinking, smoking, vaping, those are all examples of parts that are trying to help. And we have to turn the conversation around to stop getting rid of these symptoms and to start listening to them and healing the underlying reason that they exist, which is often the pain of trauma.
Right. So it's not about trying to suppress or control these parts,
No.
but trying to more understand what they have to tell us.
Yes, and the intention behind their behavior. You can almost take any behavior and look and ask about the intention. I'll give you an extreme, well, one of the extreme examples personally. So I grew up in an abusive environment where I was physically and verbally abused.
Mhm.
I hated being yelled at. I hated being hit. Fast forward when I had my kids, two boys, and they started fighting. They'd throw toys at each other, they'd hit each other. They were acting like normal kids. It terrified me inside. And so I would yell at them to try to stop them from hitting and throwing toys, right? One would say, Frank, that you're being a horrible parent. And I felt very bad about myself. I was very critical about that behavior. But it wasn't until I started listening to the part of me that was yelling at my kids, I understood, oh, I'm yelling at my kids. A part of me is yelling at my kids because the part of me that was abused by my father was terrified when my kids fought because I said, if I ever acted like them, I would get beat up. When I see violence, it terrifies me because I know I'm next and this happened to me. So the part of me that yelled at my children was really protecting the part of me that got triggered when they would fight. Right? So,
Mhm.
of course, it's bad to yell at your children, but when you understand the origin of that behavior, now I have something to work with. Now I have something to solve. And then I feel less self-loathing because I have a context for why, and now I have a solution to how to fix it.
Mhm. So let's say if someone feels very overwhelmed by their parts, which is very
Yeah,
common,
yeah.
um, where should they begin safely on their own to practice
Mm,
this?
funny you should mention that. So I have a new course coming out next week. Honestly,
Mhm.
it's so funny
Mhm.
that you say that. To try to help people start this work outside of therapy. I said
Mhm.
earlier, my passion is to empower individuals to do this work on their own and then to learn when they need to go to therapy and for what, right? But there's a way through journaling, through meditating, the whole program of how to move through awareness, listening. We want people to be with their behaviors, not in their behavior. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a very important, I call it differentiation. Can I, Frank, be in connection with the part of me that yells at my kids so that I can learn what it's trying to do? So you've got to teach people to not be in their experience, to learn how to be with their experience so they could start listening. I have people map out all the different behaviors you don't like. Write it on a piece of paper. Map
Mhm.
out, I don't like yelling. I don't like overworking. I don't like drinking. Okay, you've got
Mhm.
three behaviors. Now start the process of learning their intention one at a time. And what we find, Leo, is when we start getting curious about these intentions, when we start looking at why they're doing what they're doing, we start learning about the origin. when did you first start needing to do this? Always ask them, when did this begin? It never begins in the present day. It begins back when, oh, first time you experienced this is then. And then we have this differentiation. This is my behavior now, but it's rooted to something that happened in my past. And then there's a process for healing. So that's for me the first step. Identify your behaviors, list them in the order of significance, and start getting curious. Some people do these in pair partners. Some people do this with a therapist. Some people do this internally through journaling or meditation. But to learn how to be in relationship to your symptoms and your behaviors is very important.
Hmm. What would be common mistakes that people commonly do when they first try this work with their parts?
A couple things. I really believe in healing in community. So
Hmm.
the first thing I would say is find a partner, find someone that you feel safe with so that you can do this with somebody else instead of doing it alone. If you start out doing this work alone, it's easy to get overwhelmed and it's easy to relive your experience. So trauma happens in isolation. Healing happens in community and connection. So find a peer partner who you can check in with every day, right? 10 minutes. Each person shares what they're learning about their behavior. Okay. The other person listens, doesn't give advice. This is the other thing I always say. One of the big mistakes is when you're hearing somebody talk about their drinking or their cutting or their overeating, you know what you should do? Like, don't go to the internet, people, to find 5 solutions to fixing your problem. And give advice. This is the other thing I always say. One of the big mistakes is when you're hearing somebody talk about their drinking, to find 5 solutions to fixing your problem. The first step is being seen. For example, oh, what I'm hearing you say is that the part of you that eats, always teaching people not only how to be with their experience and speak for it, to also learn. It make a big difference. And you're not doing it alone because it's easy to relive your trauma when you're alone.
Who are watching, we often get the question like that they feel beyond repair, and
Yes.
so according to you, like, is it really possible to heal and sort of like rewire your body after living through a trauma?
Yes. 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 Let me think about it. Yes. 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 you know, I I don't believe anybody is beyond repair. I don't believe that. Okay. I think many people have not been exposed to how trauma healing really occurs. A lot of the problem is we get into the wrong therapy. We find somebody who doesn't know how to heal trauma. I just moved from Boston to Los Angeles a couple months ago. It's
Okay.
very hard to find really good trauma specialists here. I'm sure they exist, but they're not so accessible. How many people are looking for therapists who are good? So, a bigger problem is not, am I capable of healing? A bigger problem is, can I find the right person who can really help me through this journey? That's what I hope to do, is train clinicians in the correct way to heal trauma, because oftentimes we blame the client, right? You're a borderline, or you're a narcissist, right? It's easy to blame somebody when in fact we don't know how to help them in the way that's best for them. So I think everybody can heal. I think depending on the severity of trauma, it can take longer or shorter, depending on the severity, for sure. Someone with extreme trauma, with dissociative identity disorder or pre-verbal trauma, attachment trauma, you don't heal that in 10 sessions. It takes a long time. So I want people to know that everyone has a core strength, wisdom, and intuition. Everyone has that inside themselves. We learn how to disconnect from that in order to survive our trauma. So for me, it's bringing people access to their core power, their strength, and their wisdom so that they can start listening to themselves again, because trauma disconnects that to ourselves. So yes, everybody can heal. I'm sticking with it, Leo. I'm
Yeah.
sticking.
Well, I mean, that's nice to hear, and I feel, it's reassuring for a lot of people that we speak to. And would it be possible actually that this is a trauma symptom to feel like they're fundamentally broken?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. And I don't know if you know the work of Ruth Lanius. Ruth is also a dear friend. She's a researcher. She's up in Ottawa, Canada. And Ruth actually did a beautiful piece of research to show us how our identity and trauma get linked. People don't say something bad happened to me. They say, I am bad, right? I am broken. Okay. So, what Ruth showed us through neuroscience is there are two parts of the brain. One is called the default mode network, default mode network. That is who I am, how I see myself, how I'm represented in the world. And then there's another structure called the periaqueductal gray. The periaqueductal gray is where our raw emotional states originate. And in trauma, these two structures get linked. So my trauma of the past get linked to my identity of today. I am my trauma. Like, we literally have research to show how identity and trauma get linked. So the process of therapy is to disconnect I am my trauma to this happened to me. It's not who I am, right? So that's one important thing. The other thing is the work of Norman Doidge, who shows us which developmental stages, when you're traumatized, are linked to I'm bad, I'm broken, I'm wrong. Like when we're around 7 to 9 years old, that's where identity forms. And if you're traumatized during that stage, that's likely when you say, I am my trauma. I am my trauma. So there's a lot of neuroscience that shows us how our identity get linked to what happened to us. The other piece, Leo, I'll talk about is this issue of responsibility. Okay, very important when you're working with trauma. When someone harms you and they don't take responsibility for their actions, we as children take responsibility for what was done to us 100% of the time, right? If you get hit or yelled at, and then your parent says, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, it was my fault, I shouldn't have done that, kids won't take on trauma as their identity. But if you don't have somebody who takes responsibility, they blame you or they say nothing, kids automatically take responsibility for what happened to them if the perpetrator doesn't. So that's another reason I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm broken, is because we internalize the lack of responsibility by the people who harm us. It's a very important distinction. Anytime we do any complex trauma or relational trauma work, we're always undoing or misaligning. We're working with the misaligned sense of responsibility. It's really
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
Misaligned sense of responsibility.
Is- So you mentioned that the neuroscience shows that there's a direct links that is created, almost mixing up what happened to me and my identity. Does also modern neuroscience show that you can undo that
Yeah.
link?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is why we have hope, Leo, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay. Well, yeah, that's good to hear.
yeah, this is linked. Sorry, people, you're on your own, right? No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because some of the work shows, and this is really separate from integration. This is really where the field is heading, because what some of the research shows, and Ruth has done some of this also, is when we get these trauma links like this, we know talking about it doesn't help unlink it.
Mhm.
We know that trauma memories get encoded differently than regular memories because of the intensity of the experience. And we also know that body-based therapies are more effective. And I'm sure you've talked about this with
Yeah.
Bessel. I was
Yeah.
with him last week. We did a podcast together. Body-based therapies are better at helping to unlink identity and trauma. Okay. So body-based therapies are super important. It's not the only thing that people need, right? They need to be able to differentiate who I am today from who I am in the past. But body-based therapies are really important. So is attachment therapies, right? When you hold responsibility for what was done to you, relational therapies, attachment-based therapies are very important so that you can have what we call a corrective relational experience with somebody safe. So that you can say, oh, I'm not bad. I'm not wrong. It isn't my fault. That you can have safe connection where you're not responsible or blamed for what was done to you. So there are ways that we can unlink this sense of shame or responsibility through different models of therapy. But
Mm.
talking about it isn't going to be so effective. That we know.
Right. And actually, can you explain as to why these techniques like breathwork, sensory activations, or movement are really powerful techniques to access what you call, I believe, self energy and actually change your body, change your reflexes?
Yeah. So some of that work is connected to the work of polyvagal theory and talking about that ventral portion of the parasympathetic nervous system, right?
Mhm.
Um, I I hold a slightly different view from self energy, which is the IFS terminology for
Mhm.
this place inside of us. And
Mhm.
I'll tell you a little bit about this, but this place inside of us I call calm power, which I've mentioned. Everybody has it. And I subdivide it into two different spaces, Leo: my human self and my soul. This is where I talk about emerging strength and inner wisdom and intuition. It's a place in all of us. I think we all have this place. And I think trauma blocks access to this core place in all of us. And the reason that I differentiate the human self from the soul is, in my work in trauma over these many decades, there are some people that experience traumas of the self, traumas of the self, such that if you are a woman and you are sexually violated because you're a woman, you don't say a part of me was sexually abused. You say I was sexually abused, right? People of color, racial trauma, they don't say my black part of me. They say I was traumatized. So for me, I make a distinction that the self, the human self, can sustain traumas when they're connected to identity. But the soul is always protected and preserved. So I think the soul doesn't sustain trauma. And I think this is why I think
Mhm.
everybody has the capacity to heal, because everybody has a soul. They might not have access to it. And part of the job of therapy is to help people listen to and trust their wisdom, not be dependent on my wisdom for their healing. It's a big shift. And what I want to change in the way therapy is delivered is, let's listen to you and your wisdom, not me and all my graduate education and schooling. So I think it's so important is to re-empower people around their own wisdom and their own strength.
Mhm, mhm. And can you speak to the fact that why is repetition and practice very important to actually create this like lasting change?
Yes, because life does not work like a Hollywood movie. Like
Unfortunately, yeah.
it does not, as much as we all want it to, it doesn't happen in 2 hours, beginning, middle,
Mhm,
and end, right? And what I think about are micro moments, the accumulation of micro moments. We don't heal in this big aha way. We heal in these accumulative corrective experiences, in these cumulative moments of safe connection, and they build on themselves over time. There's some of these treatments, sometimes you can make a big change in a short period of time. But the more severe trauma you have, the more likely, I call it cumulative healing, Leo. Cumulative healing, not going to the therapist, have a session, and you're good to go. Because that's not really, you know, when you have a lot of trauma, those neural networks are very entrenched. And they're not just going to change on the dime, right? You've got to have a number of experiences that can help build a new pathway. And I'm glad you mentioned this, Leo, because it's one of the things that I don't think psychotherapy is so good at, is the moving forward, right? I think psychotherapy focuses on the origin and the history. Neuroscience keeps us present in our body. And coaching brings us to the future to make change this way. For me, Leo, we need to put them all together: psychotherapy,
mhm,
neuroscience, and coaching. Because I used to think if people heal their trauma, they're good to go. Bye bye. Have a good life. You've healed your trauma. It doesn't work that way.
mhm,
It really doesn't. And I can say this personally. I was very conflict avoidant in my life because I was afraid of getting yelled at. I was afraid of getting hurt. And I've done a lot of healing work throughout my life, a lot of healing work. It still is challenging and scary to speak up to someone, even with all the work I've done. Is it easier for me now? Yes. Am I able to do it quicker? Yes. Do I recover when I get disappointed sooner? Yes. Is it all gone? Hell no. Right?
mhm,
That's the
mhm,
thing that I think we have to pay attention to, is like practice, practice, take a risk, try something new. It's going to be hard because we're used to the old pathway. So just
mhm.
because we've done the healing doesn't mean it's automatically going to be different. And I think therapists need to pay more attention to the change moving forward and use some of the work and the experience of coaching to really make it different, to really make it different.
Right. And actually, that's a great transition, because now we're going to go to the practical part of this webinar.
Yeah.
And but first, people, let us know in the chat, how did you feel about this first part, theoretical part? I read some very, very insightful. I read some Frank is the best. Some even I read some Frank is the best day so far. There was a lot of this guy deserves a Nobel.
Oh, go on, Leo. Keep reading. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
So people are very, very happy about this first part. Amazing, great insights, exceptional. Frank is amazing. So thank you
All right,
for,
enough about
for your
me. I'll
comments.
put some questions.
So yeah, at Mentor Show, we really believe in the power of practice, and that's actually really our reason of being.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's get right into it. And maybe you've prepared two practices for us. Maybe we can get into the first one.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, what we're going to do in this first practice is see if you can get in touch with some of your survival strategies, right? So, what we're going to do right now is just take a moment and just in your mind's eye, think about a behavior, a reaction, something that you don't like about yourself that you wish you could change.
Right. Do
Okay.
you, do you mind if people also share it in the chat, or should they do it?
Whatever they want to do. I want to
Right.
take what I'd like to do is maybe take people through through an experience, right? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Do you want me to do an experience, or do you want me to give them steps for a practice? Which would you
No,
rather
no.
have me do?
I think you can do the experience. We sometimes also ask them to share in the chat, so that people sort of like see the others' reactions and so on. But I guess people can do whatever they prefer.
Let's do this. Let's have people go through an experience and then share in the chat.
Okay. Right.
Let's do that.
Great.
So maybe just take a moment and think about a particular behavior that you don't like about yourself. Now, you don't have to put that in the chat, so we're not here to shame you, right? But think about something like, oh, I don't like this quality of me. I don't like this aspect of my behavior or my personality. So if we think about one of those, take a moment and instead of thinking about it, once you have it in your mind's eye, I want you to shift the focus of your attention inside. And I want you to notice where this behavior or this part of you is located in or around your body. So, where is it located? In your head, in your chest, in your stomach, wherever. And once you find the location of where this behavior or symptom is located in your body, I want you to notice how it's showing up. Meaning, are you seeing an image? Are you hearing words? Are you sensing something somatically? How is it showing up for you? Is it a memory or is it a thought? And once you notice how it's showing up, let it know that you see it or hear it or feel it, that you see, feel, or hear the way it's representing itself inside. And ask it to share what it's holding. Now, it can share through words, through thoughts, through feelings or emotions, or through sensations within your body. So let it communicate through thoughts, feelings, or physical sensations. How long has it been there? How is it trying to help you? Does it see or know you separate from itself? What is it afraid would happen if it stopped doing this behavior or reaction or thought or feeling? What is its fear? Is it interested in changing, not doing this all the time? Would it like a break? Who is it protecting inside? No pressure if it doesn't want to share. Can you validate whatever is coming up? I'm not asking you to agree or disagree, to like it or hate it. I'm asking you to validate whatever you're noticing in this moment. Can you send gratitude for the way this place in you is trying to help? Even if on the surface it's not so effective, send gratitude and notice how it responds to your gratitude. Let it know it's not alone and that you are available to help this place inside of you if it's interested in forming a relationship with you. Take a deep breath in. Hold at the top. Slowly exhale. Deep breath in. Hold at the top. Slowly exhale. Deep breath in. Hold at the top. And last time, slowly exhale. And when you're ready, you can come back to our shared space.
Okay, everyone. How did you feel? Can you share in the chat? For me, it felt very, very, very powerful. It feels like the more you try not to listen, the more this part is sort of screaming at you, right? And now
Right.
just
Yeah.
trying to actually listen what it has to say.
Yeah.
That was fabulous. Unexpected tears, beautiful, powerful insights from my childhood. Beautifully done. Most excellent. Lots of tears, felt seen.
That's beautiful.
Feel
Leo,
more relaxed.
we don't listen a lot. Oftentimes, when we start shifting the focus of our attention inside, parts will say, it's about time. Like, where have you been? Do you know how much time we spend outside on our phones, working, taking care of everyone? We don't take time to stop and be with our internal experience. So the screaming you hear, it's like, hello, I'm in here.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, great. I feel like people got a lot from this first exercise. Do you want to go straight to the second one?
We can take a couple questions or go straight to the second one, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. You tell me.
Yeah, I think maybe let's go straight into the second one, and then we'll cover all the questions.
Yes, sure. So this one is, so we just had an experience of being with one of our survival strategies. Right? So we had the experience of shifting the focus of our attention inside, being open and curious to listening to a survival strategy and getting to know it a little bit more. Now, this exercise is going to help people, hopefully, access that place within them, that calm power I talk about, so that there is somebody in there that you can access in relationship to your survival strategy, because we don't want the survival strategy to be all alone, right? So what we're going to do now, we'll do a similar exercise, but before we do an internal experience, I want you to think for a moment in your mind's eye a place in your life where you feel the most joy, the happiest, the most peaceful, the calmest, where you're open-hearted. Now, maybe it's a location, maybe it's with a person in relationship, maybe it's on a trip, right? So think about a place in your life or a person that you're in connection with, where you feel the most loving, the most expansive, and the freest. And once you find that, now I'm going to say most likely it's not in your therapist's office talking about your trauma. Okay.
Right.
Just saying, sorry, therapist, but that's not usually what comes up, which is a whole nother story. But once you found that place in you, again, or that person in your life that co creates that feeling, I want you to shift the focus of attention internally and notice what's happening in your body when you access that mental place, that mental connection. Is your body tense? Are your muscles relaxed? Is your heart open or closed and restricted? Do you feel energy moving through your body or is it stuck and disconnected? Just notice what happens in your body when you reference a calm, loving place or person where you feel safe, relaxed, seen, and known. Notice your breathing. And as you reference this place in your body, this place of peace, of calm power, I want you to do some bilateral movement back and forth. Maybe you do butterfly taps, but I want you to encode this moment right now. So as you feel calm, loving, open, and expansive, just encode this for a moment. So your body can reference safety, love, connection. Maybe you take a deep breath in. So very slow exhale. And as you're embodying this place, as you're encoding this space, Let the part from the previous experience see this in you. See this place in you. Maybe it's never seen or felt this space before. Maybe you let love and light in from the outside. Maybe you send love and light to your parts. Whatever feels natural. Just notice, reference what this space feels like in you. And let your parts know this is a reference for them. Maybe there's movement attached, music, art, whatever is connected. There's this place of calm power, strength, wisdom, intuition. Maybe it's a spiritual place. Whatever shows up, let's welcome it. Deep breath in, hold at the top, slowly exhale. One more time. Deep breath in, hold at the top, slowly release. When that feels complete, you could send gratitude to whatever showed up in this experience. And when you're ready, slowly transition back to our shared space from this place inside of you.
All right. Thank you, Frank.
Yes. And you know, it's important for people to know like in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we can really shift states and access different places within ourselves, right? So that we don't have to get stuck anywhere.
Mhm.
State change is really important. You know, the trauma work that we talked about, I have people go in, visit, come out. Go in, visit, come out. Don't get stuck.
Mhm.
Move
Mhm.
in and out. And these experiences show us all that we have the capacity to move in and out.
Mhm.
We all
Right.
have capacity. We all have the capacity to move in and out.
Yes, and it felt also with this exercise only with tools that you carry with you, right? Your hands, your breath. It's
Yeah.
like you have this everywhere you go, right?
You don't have your therapist, but maybe 50 minutes a week, but you have yourself every single other hour and minute of the day. That's correct.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean that was really peaceful. I see a lot of like peaceful, and especially we hear the birds behind you singing, so it's like, yeah, it's incredible. Thank you. My entire body is tingling. Deeply grateful. I felt so relaxed. I was falling asleep.
Yeah.
Peaceful, grounding. I saw a lot of grounding. So yeah, a lot of positive reaction to this. Thank you so much, Frank. I think we've done two very powerful exercise here. Um, and now we'll take the rest of the time to do some Q&A. So we gathered a lot of questions. What I suggest, if that's okay with you, Frank, is that I do two questions about the Heal program and about Mentor Show, and then I do two questions for you, and we sort of like go like this. Is that okay for you?
That's totally fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, great.
What am I going to? Hell no, I don't like that format. Yes, I think that's wonderful. I think that's great.
Okay. Okay, great, because we had a lot of questions on the Heal program and on Mentor Show. And so for people who are interested in getting deeper, I'll just clarify a few things for you. First question I have here is, what will I get in the Heal program that I cannot get in Gabor's books? So just for people who might not have seen previous lives, we have a few masterclasses on Mentor Show where we organize this event. And one of them is Gabor's Heal course. And we built a program with him. And I mean, generally speaking, we built Mentor Show because we feel like the self-help industry has something that is not necessarily working, and it's that, you might consume this new book, you might consume this new podcast, you might consume this new training, and you feel inspired for a moment. You get a little bit of a dopamine hit, right? Like, this makes so much sense, and so on. But then you switch to the next thing, and you hear this next speaker and the next learning, and in the end, nothing has concretely changed. So this is an addiction in itself sometimes, and we created Mentor Show to break this pattern. And instead of just giving you information, we try to give you the structure, the practices, and the accountability to actually apply it, right? Because we feel like, just information is not enough. And, your preach of this also, Frank, that you need to practice to actually create a change. One metaphor that I often give is that, think about a friend that tells you, I'm going to learn I'm going to be a good swimmer. And, but the only thing that they do is to watch videos on YouTube on how to swim. Well, you're going to tell them you're not going to get a good swimmer if you don't get in the pool, and you have to actually start swimming. And well, we feel like it's the same for healing. And so that's why we built concrete course. It took us about a year to put that into practice. So here, Gabor created this course with actual practices, exercises, meditation that he does on a regular basis and that he uses for himself, right? And so these, to answer the question from, I don't remember her name, this you will not get anywhere else, just because you're not going to get the exercises and the meditations and the somatic exercises and so on. Just for you to have everything you get on there. There's about 18 lessons. There are dozens of somatic exercises, of meditations, led by Gabor. And you get some daily practice, some weekly practices that he uses on a regular basis as well. And finally, there's also something that is not really in YouTube, or you won't be able to see anywhere else, is some live consultations from Gabor. So you see him with participants who have lived through trauma, and you see him in action actually get to the bottom of things with the participant. And this is really mesmerizing to see. I don't know if Frank, you've already seen Gabor in action with a particular person, but it's quite incredible to see, and it feels like it can be contagious for people who are watching. So yeah, basically this is everything that you're gonna get. You know, I often ask Gabor, like, what can we do more? What can we create for the subscribers to add some value? And you know, he tells me there's everything I know, everything that helped me in there. So this is really what you get. Just another question before I pass it on to you, Frank. Does the offer include both masterclasses, and when does it end? A lot of confusion around, there was some confusion around Mentor Show Plus, Heal, Safe, and so on. So here is everything that you get in the offer that is this week, right? So it's gonna end quite soon, but for this summit, you get the special offer, and in this offer, you get the Heal method of Gabor. You get also the course from Bessel that is called Safe. So there's a lot of body-based modalities in there. There are some tapping, some EMDR, a lot of different yoga-inspired practices, and so on and so forth. You get also weekly live sessions with coaches that are specialized in trauma, and especially specialized with the teachings of Gabor and Bessel. And you get one coaching per week, right? I had a lot of questions about this, so I want to clarify. You have a choice, usually about 8 or 10 coachings every week, and you choose one coaching every week. So there's about 50 coaching in the whole year, right? So this is everything you get. You get some exclusive webinars like this one, and so on. And especially for this summit, usually the price is $1,200 per year. Here it is. This is everything you get in the offer. I think that's pretty clear. So you basically save about $800 for the next few hours. So Mentor Show will send the link. You can also scan the QR code if you want to join. And there you go. That's it for these first 2 questions. Let me gather for you some of the questions we had. There you go. So first question for you: is it important to deal with the dissociative defenses in complex trauma, aside from grounding and vagus nerve regulation?
Yeah, I don't use either. I'm not gonna say I never use those 2 things, but grounding techniques for dissociation kind of don't focus on the origins of the dissociation and the importance of it. Just like we talked about survival strategies, dissociation is a survival strategy. So if somebody's dissociating, I'm going to say, wow, you just came in to take her out, or you just came in to shut her down, didn't you? Tell me why that's important. So I engage with the dissociation, and I have a conversation with the dissociation to say, tell me more about why it was important for you to shut down right then, knowing that dissociation is not a bad thing, and I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to understand what was so scary in that moment that made the dissociative part step in. So I talk to the dissociative part. And Leo, dissociative parts don't want to talk to me. They want to shut down. So I'm aware of that. So I don't push them, but I'm very relational with them. It's like, when you're ready to tell me what was so scary, I'm here to listen. and I'm watching for the body, because dissociation is a top down neurophysiological process. So people are going to recover from dissociation from the bottom up, from the body first, then emotion, then thoughts last. So when I'm engaging with the dissociative part, I'm tracking the body to see where those shifts occur.
Okay. We have a question from Kaite Stroff. How does depersonalization, derealization relate to chronic pain and chronic illness?
It does and it doesn't. Again, dissociation isn't only related to chronic pain and chronic illness, but it's often one of the survival strategies. So we're always wanting to see, what is dissociation connected to? Chronic pain or chronic inflammation can be one of the things it's trying to protect from. When things get bad enough, then we shut down and then we disconnect. So I'm always learning from the dissociation, right? And oftentimes it's really hard. Dissociation is maybe the only solution to get away from the pain, right? So you really got to, again, appreciate the value of what it's trying to do, instead of hating it and trying to get rid of it or medicating it away, which is a whole nother problem, because these parts don't take kindly to medicines when medicines are trying to shut them up instead of listen to them. So you got to be careful. Because parts can block medication responses all the time.
So I'm going to take a couple of questions about the program. I have a question about the guarantee. I can get refunded even if I change my mind in 6 months. So yes, there is no limit of time for the guarantee. So just as a reminder, the guarantee is that if you complete the program and you watch it, you do the exercises in your healing diary, and you still think it's not for you, you don't like it, or you just don't want it anymore, you can ask for your money back, and you'll get your money back instantly. So you just send us pictures of the exercises and we'll refund you. And so there's no limit of time. If you want to watch everything in 9 months and then get a refund, you can get that. The goal of this guarantee is that we don't want money to be an issue. We know that if you go through the program and you go through different exercises done by Gabor, you're going to get value out of it. And so we decided to remove the risk completely for you. We sort of take the risk for ourselves. Another question, Lavigne, do you offer payment plan? It's not financially feasible to pay all at once for me. So yes, there's a 3 installment possibility. It's right here. I can find it, but you can see it directly on the checkout. There's a possibility to pay in one time, or there's a possibility to pay in 3 different months. Okay. Another question for you, Frank. How do we reveal hidden or buried emotion/events?
Yes, that happens a lot, right? Suppression, disconnection, not remembering is in fact one of those survival strategies. This is what we naturally do in order to survive. We suppress, we push away. One of the things I do not suggest, Leo, is doing hypnosis to try to uncover memories, because oftentimes, unless it's a very skilled hypnotherapist, too much information showing up too quickly is harmful to the system. I'll often say to people that I'm working, somebody in there knows what happens. When your system feels safe enough, it will share what it knows. I never fill in the blanks. I never say, well, you look like somebody who was sexually abused, or you probably were physically abused. I would never fill in the blanks myself, and I never push or force information to be revealed too quickly. I slow people down, slow people down. When the timing is right, I trust that whoever knows what happens will reveal itself, because I say, every time we relive trauma, we reinforce it. So we don't want to relive or reinforce anything. We want it to unfold when safety is achieved.
I have another question here that comes up quite often. What are your thoughts on epigenetics in relation to trauma, specifically generational trauma?
Yeah, my thoughts are it sucks because I've experienced it and I've passed it down to my children. Let me just say that.
Okay.
We all have. We all have. Epigenetic transmission of trauma is a real thing. You know, Rachel Yehuda is one of the people who has studied epigenetic transmission. And yes, we absorb not only the environment of our ancestors or of our parents or grandparents, but it's in our genetic material. And we pass it down to our children. I can tell you, my son, he has attachment trauma in a similar way that I do. And I know that that has something to do with epigenetic transmission, right? So we pass it down to our kids. Environment is one piece, but so is genetics. The good news here, folks, is that it can be healed. We can heal epigenetic transmission of trauma with those corrective experiences. Like I said, I have this new course coming out next week that's going to help people move through that process of how to undo some of the stuff we've absorbed and some of the stuff we pass on. And when we're doing that work, Leo, we don't want to blame ourselves for what happened to us. And we also don't want to be critical about what we're passing on, but we can do a lot to prevent it. It's a real thing. And it feels really good when you're able to stop the transmission of transgenerational trauma and have a different outcome. It's entirely possible.
Okay. We had a few questions from Marie Breller. Can you give a breakdown of each class and price? So let me show you here the inside of Mentor Show right here. Yeah, there you go. So once you join Mentor Show here, I'm just signing in because I already have an account. Yes, there you go. Yeah. So this is the inside, right? And so the offer that you have now, the 66% discount, this is to get everything in the platform, right? So you're not gonna have to buy different masterclasses and so on. This is like you get everything. And so you can see here, there's Bessel's masterclass that just launched, and here is Gabor's masterclass. So if I click here, you can see the heal program, because it's a 4-step program with hearing the pain, empowering yourself to heal, aligning your relationship, and then lifelong healing. You get all the 61 lessons, 29 hours of content and exercises and so on. And I had a lot of questions about the replays, where do we get the replays, and so on and so forth. So you get the replays of all the sessions this week. You're going to get them sent to you by email, and you're going to get access to them for a few days. But after a while, you won't have access to them unless you join Mentor Show, and then you get them right here, you see. This is one of the replays of the one of the previous webinars we did with Gabor, and here you have access as long as as your subscription goes. Actually, here I there's a great comment here, and one of the best investments I've made in myself, exceeded my expectations. Masterclass is world class. So yeah, this is always very, very valuable for us to hear. Okay, keep sending your questions, people. Another question for you, Frank. Is art therapy a good way?
Yeah, art therapy. Thank you, whoever mentioned that. Art therapy is a great way to be able to kind of express yourself and connect to your parts. Any form of externalizing your experience, play therapy for children, art therapy, music therapy, yoga. It's, we did one of the things we didn't do, Leo, is embodiment, right? There's a way to embody your parts, not just talk about them, right? Or be with the sensation. So any form of externalizing being with your experience, art therapies are great. Yoga, movement, exercise, dance, tai chi, all these things are a way to kind of embody what your experience is. And every time I embody something, I learn something new about it. It's very different when you feel it. Like, oh, I didn't know shutdown is like a frozen experience for me, right? So anytime we embody something or enact it physically, we learn a different dimension from it. So it is really important. And art, music, any form of creative expression is super helpful when you're learning to get to know your internal experience. Absolutely.
I realize we've gone over time, so let's take just one last question. I'm sorry, which is very good. Danielle, if trusting is hard and you've never felt like you belonged, how do you find community?
Yeah, that's great. It's a great question. It's one of the things that I'm building in my new program that I really feel that's so important. I have this phrase and saying, trauma blocks love and connection. And it's love and connection that heals trauma. So finding safe places to build community is so important in the healing journey. And again, for those folks who don't have access to therapy, there are different ways to seek out community. And honestly, I think in-person community is better than ever, is better than anything. When you can really feel someone and feel something, Leo, I said yesterday in a workshop that I did, social media is a dopamine hit. Real connection, community is an oxytocin hit. When you're in connection with somebody, you have oxytocin, the chemical of connection that gets released, which is very different than what gets released when we're on our phones. So find community, seek out places, seek out people that speak your language and resonate, and find ways to connect with people, because trauma happens in isolation. It's a violation of a relationship. So community is one of the big antidotes to healing.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Frank, for this really authentic, very enlightening, very, very authentic session. Thank you, everyone, for being here this whole summit. I'm gonna stay with you and share a free lesson from the Heal Masterclass of Gabor. So we're just gonna broadcast for you, and afterwards I'll stay a little bit to answer, because there were a lot of questions on the program. So I'll stay after the free lesson to answer your questions. But for those who are gonna leave, thank you,
Leo. Just a quick question. I see a lot in the chat.
Yeah.
Is it okay for people to know how to reach me? Could we tell them how to reach me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So if you want to follow anything related to me, frankandersonmd.com will allow you to kind of get my newsletter, find out all the things that I'm doing, and also on Instagram, Frank_AndersonMD. And I have to tell you, I loved working with you, Leo, and just
likewise.
I hope we do more together here on the Mentor Show also. But Frank Anderson MD is a way to reach me also. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say, I think, guys, we spent a lot of time together, but the goal is that this summit was really the spark, and now you need to fuel this fire. So you can join a heal course, but you can do anything else. Just don't let that spark go
Yep.
away. Keep this incredible energy that we have all together in this healing journey. And Frank, thank you so much. Really pleasure to have this session with you.
Thank you.
um yeah,
Bye
bye bye, have
bye.
a good rest of the
Yep.
day. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
And now I'll play for you the teaser and the last lesson of Gabor's masterclass, and I'll come back to you right after to answer some questions. For the other ones, bye bye, and see you next time.
In my masterclass, Heal, I built for the first time a practical step-by-step guide towards healing. And now that's what I'm going to share here with you. As a physician and a therapist, I worked with people whose lives have been shaped by trauma, some obvious, others more hidden. I've seen how unresolved pain silently infuses every aspect of life, from relationships to mental health to even physical health. I've treated people facing the scars of narcissistic abuse, child abuse, sexual trauma, and many other wounds, big and small. And through this, I've developed a structured approach to healing trauma that can transform suffering into resilience and into strength. After 40 years of practice, I've poured everything I've learned into this masterclass so as to transform your life. It includes over 5 hours of exclusive content, dozens of exercises and regular practices, meditations I personally guide, scientific information, and daily tools. Understanding trauma is not just about the past, it's primarily about reclaiming your present. I'm here to tell you that yes, you can heal. I'm Gabor Maté, and I invite you to take the journey with me. This is the shortest lesson of all. It consists of 2 words. Do it. Do what? I've said to you that the hardest thing for human beings, and I'm speaking from, believe me, decades of personal experience, the hardest thing is to keep up a habit, a positive habit, is to stick to an intention. We begin and then it fades out. And that has to do with something I mentioned already, what the Buddha called habit energies. And I gave the image, the metaphor that the Buddha offered of a man on a horse who was running away, and people yell to the man, "Where are you going?" And the man says, "Don't ask me, ask the horse." And the horse is those habit energies that are wired into our nervous system. We keep defaulting to them all the time. Another more disturbing image, metaphor that the Buddha used, is that of 2 stronger men dragging a weaker one towards an abyss, and they're going to throw him in. And he resists, but he can't. He's not strong enough. And the Buddha said, is that those strong men are the habit energies, and the weaker one is you, because you didn't work on it. You didn't put in the energy. You didn't put in the time to train yourself. So when I say do it, what do I mean? In this masterclass, I've taught and suggested and offered meditations, the emergency kit and all its components, the weekly exercise of where I didn't say no, the regular exercise of the upset exercise of what happened, what was my reaction, what was my emotional reaction, what was I reacting to, what was my perception, the exercises in relational work about assumptions that you make about the other person, and all the other techniques and exercises that we've taught here. The daily routine of 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Are you important enough to spend 10 minutes a day with yourself? At the end of the day, can you ask yourself, the Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away, I think 3 years ago now, 2 to 3 years ago, wonderful teacher. And he talked about, in Buddhist psychology, it's like we have these bad seeds and these good seeds. And which one will flower will depend on which one we water, which one we nurture. I can certainly tell you for myself that on a given day, I can look back and say, well, today I nurtured the bad seeds. How did I do that? By vegging out 3 hours on YouTube, either watching myself or other people, but just, but just to get away from myself. I nurtured the good seeds by taking responsibility for something, by doing a practice, by doing the yoga that I've learned, by meditating, by going for a walk. So just check in and don't do it judgmentally to feel bad about yourself or to judge yourself or just to berate yourself, but just check in. Which seeds did I nurture today? So when I say do it, I mean, I've also mentioned other practices, resources, and so on. Check them out, do it, commit to it. This course that you just almost completed, monitoring, don't just put it away in the closet after you're finished with it. Because if you're anything like me, and I can talk about personal experience again, I can watch something, I can watch a talk by a teacher, a mentor, a spiritual leader, and it does penetrate, it makes sense to me at the time. 6 months later, if I watch it again, it's almost like I'm watching it for the first time, because I'm watching it from a new consciousness, and I'll be surprised how I forgot what I thought I'd understood. So this mentorship, or this masterclass, I should say, watch it again. Take it out 6 months from now. Go through it again. If it means something to you, then do it again. So these habit energies that are really difficult because they're the default setting of our nervous system, the only fault we have is that we keep going to default. So be conscious and live intentionally. And that means doing it, doing the practice, taking it on. That's the message. There's one more thing I'd like to suggest here. The environment matters. So look at your living space. Do you create a space for yourself where you can really be at peace with yourself? Well, that means creating some order. And with my own ADHD mind, I can create order in my room, and then 5 minutes later, it's like a tornado has gone through it. Well, take responsibility for that, because in that space, it's really hard to be peaceful and present. Three more things I'd like to mention. One is that 5-step exercise that I taught about addiction, the relabel, reattribute, refocus, revalue, and recreate. You can also apply them to any negative thought patterns and beliefs, limiting beliefs that you have. So how does that work? And you write this down. It's not that I'm a failure. I have this thought that I'm a failure. That's a relabeling. It's not that I'm a bad parent. I have this thought that I'm a bad parent. That's the relabeling. The reattribution is this belief that I'm this, that, or the other is just my brain sending me an old message. So you attribute it to old programming. It's just an old programming that's in me. It's not reality. Refocus. Put your intention, oh, have I done good things in this life? Have I been kind to anybody ever? Did I ever pat a dog on the head in a kind way? Or should I listen to some music now? Take my thought off this negative self-thought? That's refocus. Revalue. Reevaluate. This belief that I am this, that, or the other, or this belief that I'm powerless, or this belief that I'm helpless, or this belief that I'm guilty. What has this been actual value in my life? What has it actually meant in my life? What has this done? What is its impact? So you reevaluate, you really look at what has it done? And then the fifth step is recreate. Okay, so up till now, in significant ways, maybe not in every way, but in many, many forms, I've been living a life that was created for me by circumstances I had no control over. Let me actually read you a quote here. And I'm coming here to the very essence of this masterclass. There's a American neuroscientist, neurobiologist called Robert Sapolsky. He works at Stanford University, has written some wonderful books, done great work, and gives really great talks on YouTube as well. And he's written a book recently called Determined. By determined, he doesn't mean like we're committed to doing something. He means predetermined. And here's what he says. We're nothing more or less than the sum of what we could not control, our biology, our environments, and their interactions. So he says there's no such thing as free will. Now, the problem is he's almost right. Because so much of the time, that's what happens to us. The whole point of this program, of this masterclass, of any kind of healing, is not to make him right on this one, but to gain the freedom so that we're not just dominated by what we couldn't control. So when I say recreate as the fifth step, write down your intentions of the kind of life that you want and do what you can to create that life so that you're not predetermined, so that you have that freedom. And that freedom is the very intent of this masterclass. All right, well, the next point is, I wish I could tell you that it's like this, but you probably know already that it's not like this. It's more like, if you're fortunate, it's like this. But there's going to be downslips, there's going to be downhill, there's going to be relapses, there's going to be times when you don't do the practices. There's going to be time when it may seem to you like you never learned anything at all. There'll be troughs. Accept that and expect it. But don't let it define you. So, of course you're going to make mistakes. Of course you're going to lapse. And of course you're going to relapse. Of course you will. Don't make the mistake of allowing yourself to let you discourage you. Let that discourage you. Let that tell you that there's something wrong with you. It just means you're a human being. And then you come back to it when you're ready. Just come back to it. Keep coming back and coming back and coming back. The final point is just for me, what's necessary, and you'll have to decide what this means for you. If I don't stay physically active, I start feeling like a marshmallow after 2 days. So for me, swimming, bicycling, working out is important as it is to work on my psychic self, to work also on my physical self, not that there's any real separation. So for me, some kind of physical activity is absolutely essential. I think that's true for most people to different degrees. Not that you have to do what I do or what somebody else does. I don't do the kind of rigorous stuff that some people do. But for God's sakes, every day, move something. walk, get it outside, whatever you're doing, value your body. And if you value something, you take care of it. And you take care of it by, you'll take it. If you have a dog, you're going to take that dog for a walk every day. Well, can you take yourself for a walk every day? Are you as important as your dog if you don't have a dog? And if you have a pet, you're going to make sure they eat well. If you care yourself, if you care for yourself, you're going to put nutrition into your life. And you're going to consider what does my body need to consume in order to preserve itself, to stay healthy, and if necessary, to maintain health. So these things are obvious, but sometimes we don't think about them. We've arrived at the end of this masterclass. Each of you will have experienced it differently because, again, we experience everything through our own particular minds. I trust that there was enough for every participant here to get something out of it, more than something, I hope. I hope you found some self-recognition, the possibility of self-respect, the possibility of self-care, and the tools to engage in self-care and to practice it on a regular basis. Thanks for your commitment, because it took commitment for you to participate in this masterclass. It took a financial commitment, I know. It also took something perhaps more important, a commitment of your interest and attention and your time. So I thank you for that. I congratulate you for having come this far. This is the beginning, or another beginning, or a new beginning. It's entirely your call as to how far you continue with it. I want to thank the producers of this program, all the people that helped to film it. There's a large crew that's not visible to you, but it wouldn't have been possible, both in preparation and the execution. And finally, above all, I want to thank the participants who have come here, sometimes from certain distances, who've trusted me to teach you something, who have been here patiently with me through this process, the stops and the starts and the restarts, who have asked questions, who have given me the attention and the respect. Thank you all very much.
All right, everyone. What did you think? This was the last lesson from the Heal Masterclass. So a really moving moment that I hope many of you will see when they finish the course. He talks about a large crew of 50 people. Well, that's us, because we're behind the screen and there's tons of cameras and so on. So it looks simple like this, but trust me, it's not. And but most credit comes to obviously from Gabor, because what an incredible masterclass. He talks about a lot of exercises that we have on there. The weekly practice, the daily practice, the 5 steps exercise, the saying no exercise, the emergency kit, emergency kit is about the 10 tools that you can use when you get triggered, right? So this was a very important part of the course. And the beauty of this, I think, and the importance of this, that what Gabor is teaching you are things that he's using himself for his own trauma, because he testifies a lot, and I'm sure you've heard him in different parts, that he also gets triggered, and he also has a lot of imprints of trauma. And so it was really incredible to see how he was very intentional in teaching things that he uses for himself, that are working for him. He would never do something that is not working for him. And I think that makes a lot of the effectiveness of the masterclass. And I think that's why we get such a lot of really positive comments. An incredible part of this video that I thought as well is the end part, that he's saying, you are not predetermined. You are not predetermined, and most of the time you are like really a puppet of your reactions and so on. But his main message and the core of his masterclass, that's his word. At some point he says, this is really the essence of the masterclass, that, well, you can actually reclaim the freedom and really stop the past from hurting the present, provided you have the right tools. And so this is really why we created that masterclass. And well, we feel like this is really the right tools, right? Where you have Gabor, which is probably the most the biggest speaker on trauma right now. There's Bessel, and that's why we get incredible incredible testimonies from the masterclass, from the result of the masterclass at the end of the course. Actually, let me show you a few of the and I'll answer a few questions afterwards. But let me show you a few of some more testimonies of people who finished the masterclass. So for example, just about one exercise here, learning to say no in the right places has been one of the most empowering changes I have noticed in me since the beginning of the masterclass. I've always become aware that I'm creating the space to say yes in the right places. Or this one, I can't stop crying, such deep relief while watching the HEAL program. 20 years of therapy didn't come close to the healing I received listening. Whole parts of my personality were explained. Do you know how important you are in my healing journey? So I feel normal again. That gift to the little girl inside of me. This is really like touching to see. Found my place, filled with energy instead of strength and determination. Something reconnected me to purpose, possibility, and power I didn't even realize I had set aside. So yeah, I mean, this is some of the incredible like comments that we get about the HEAL course. But mostly, people mention lightness, calmness, connection. Sometimes we hear, I realized that I didn't have to live like this. So, this is really the reason why we started this. And this is the reason why, Gabor has worked so hard on it. Let me answer a few questions that I saw in the chat. Can you give me a breakdown of each class? I think I've answered this already. Do the HEAL classes happen at a specific time, or are there modules? So as I showed, you have access as soon as you join. You have access to everything, right? The only thing that is at certain times are the coachings, right? So as soon as you join, you have access to this, and then you can just go here and you see, there you go. You see like all the lessons are here. the different parts and also the replays and so on and so forth. You have also a workbook that you can download. All the lessons, you can download them also on the app. So you have straight away, you have access to everything. I saw some more questions. How many hours available? So you can see here, in total, you have 29 hours, but the Heal course itself is, I would say, about 8 hours. And then the rest are like all the coachings, all the webinars, and so on and so forth. So, you know, you have a lot of content in there. How long after today is the discount available? So the discount is for the 500, the first 500. So when we started this, there were about 80 left. So I would say, I mean, it's gonna go off soon, most likely. How many hours in the Heal Masterclass in total? So I answered this as well. What language are the weekly coachings done in? It's in English, right? There's a whole other part that is in French, like other coachings, but it's from other coaches. And so for you, you get to choose between 8 or 10 coachings. And let me take the next question. Is the tapping session within the course? So yeah, I didn't talk a lot about this, but let me show you. There we go. This is all the master classes, and you can go on Bessel. And so this is the masterclass from Bessel, the different parts, the SAFE program, all the bonuses. So you can see here EMDR. There's an EMDR session that you can do. You can use it. It's like self-service. So you can. This is the only place I think in internet where you'll find this kind of practice. You get some grounding practices. A lot of different somatic practices inspired from theater, from qigong, from martial arts, and you will find the tapping practice somewhere here. This qigong. I can find it right now, but there it's here somewhere. Here it is, tapping practice, right? So it's included in there, and it's included in the package that you get, right? I think I made that clear already. Great. Here you get about 7 hours of content. When do you get your personalized plan? So same here. I didn't talk a lot about that, but throughout this course, you answer some questions at each practice, and at the end of the masterclass, you can send the responses to the mentor show team, and they send the personalized plan for you, right? Next question. Do you not take Discover? I'm not sure what Discover is, but if there's a technical problem, same, you can send your questions to info@mentorshow.com. CEU credits. There's a few questions about CEU credits where we don't take CEU credits. Weekly coachings are available every. There's a lot of different slots. There's about 8-9 slots. We have people from all around the world, in Australia, in the US, in the UK, and so on. So there's going to be a slot for each and everyone. Did you fill all the 500 slots? No, there's some slots left, about 80, I think. But so there's still some slots left, basically. What is the personalized plan? So let me show you quickly how it looks like. I think I have it right here. There we go. I showed this already a few times, but this is your personalized plan. So this is for Oprah. Obviously, once again, Oprah didn't do that, but we just took it as an example. And it's based on your response. We build that based on everything that you answered at each stage, right? So you're gonna have first your profile with everything that you've mentioned and synthesized, and what your answers say about you, right? So it's a little bit of a diagnosis with the type of attachment, what kind of reactions you have, and so on and so forth, to really try to pin down. And then you're going to get what are the practices that work the best for you, right? The solo practices and partner practices. There are a lot of practices that are with the partner in the masterclass. And then based on what slots you have in the week, we're going to build this personalized routine, right? So this will be unique for each and every one of you, right? And so here, Oprah, for example, is like the top practices that she mentioned that are the best ranked based on her feedback will be integrated into her probably very busy schedule. And the last part is also very powerful, is to have 2 or 3 practices by emotional stage, right? So we're going to put, depending on your feedback, the right practices, depending on if you're in the survive stage, in the stabilize stage, or in the strengthen stage. So depending on the time of the day. Okay, let me take a couple of questions more, and then we'll wrap this up. Did you fill the 500 slots? I'm trying to sign up, but it's asking for a code. I need to use my PayPal account. So once again, if you have a technical problem, you can ask info@mentorshow.com and they'll fix it up for you. Will there be future courses? So yes, we are launching courses every now and then. You saw some speakers this week that we might build a course with. Soon there will be more content of Gabor that we already have. So there's going to be new things coming up very regularly. The tapping session, I think I talked about that. Okay. All right. Is there any more questions? Okay, everyone. Well, it was a pleasure spending that time with you all. Congratulations for making it through this quite broad summit. A lot of hours spent together taking care of ourselves. I hope you liked it. I hope you got something from it. And mostly, I hope that it was for you a spark, and that you're going to keep building that fire, either joining Mentor Show if you thought that can help you, or anything else that you can do in your life to keep that momentum. Try to keep this incredible energy that we had all together, and benefit it for your healing journey. Okay, people. Well, thank you so much, and